We are about to listen to a very interesting presentation, and it's titled The Power of Vaginal Birth After Caesarean Section, Essential Elements for a Safer and Enhanced Natural Birth. And we are so privileged to have with us our speaker for the day, or for this time, Fatima Azara. So let me just introduce our speaker and then she'll take over. So Fatima is a midwife and a master's student in midwifery at Universitas Pajajaran. She graduated with honors from Universitas Andalas and was recognized as the best graduate at both the faculty and university levels. Her professional journey includes organizing national online health webinars that focus on maternal health education and community empowerment. Fatima is passionate about midwifery research, particularly in evidence-based practice, health information systems, and safe childbirth practices such as VBAC. In addition to academic and professional pursuits, Fatima is also very experienced in event organizing, and she aspires to contribute to midwifery education and community-based maternal care through research and innovation. So Fatima, thank you so much for making time to join us. And at this stage, over to you.
All right. First of all, I would like to sincerely thank Ms. Garti for facilitating today's sessions and for the warm introductions. And also thank you for the virtual International of Midwifery Day. Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. It's truly a pleasure to be here. My name is Fatima Azahra, but you can call me Azahra, and I'm joining you from Indonesia. I am currently a master's student in midwifery at Universitas Pajajaran, Wilujeng Sumping Sadayana, which means welcome everyone. Today, I'm excited to talk about a crucial topic in maternal healthcare, feedback, or vaginal birth after cesarean. We will explore what feedback is, who qualifies for it, how a multidisciplinary approach can support safer outcomes, and the essential factors that contribute to safer and improved natural birth. All right, next. But first, I'd like to take a moment to introduce my beloved teams. A special thank you to Ms. Corina Estinang Tias Sakilah Adnani for her valuable guidance, and also to Fadia Karita Prima Enjosi and for their support and collaboration throughout this journey. All right, next. As you can see on the screen, we've received an important message. Let's take a look. All right, next. And next again. Oh, this is a big news for us as a healthcare providers. We are currently witnessing a rising trends in cesarean births. The rates of cesarean sections are increasing globally, now accounting for 21% of all births. Projections suggest this number will rise to 29% over the next decades. The World Health Organization recommends an optional cesarean section rates of 10 until 15% to enhance outcomes for mothers and infants. Nevertheless, regions with elevated season rates such as Latin America and the Caribbean average over 42%, while East Asia is anticipated to attain 63.5% by 2030. Although cesarean sections can be life-saving in emergency, unnecessary cesarean deliveries without medical justification have been demonstrated to elevate the risk of both short and long-term problems such as maternal infections, hemorrhage, and respiratory distress in newborns. In certain nations, elective cesarean sections are increasingly prevalent, particularly among nulliparous mothers over 35 years of age birthing in private institutions. Next. In Indonesia, the cesarean sections rate has reached 70%, with significant portion of these procedures being performed for non-medical reasons. This trend is putting considerable strain on the national health insurance system. It highlights the urgent need for evidence-based protocol to limit the use of cesarean sections where there is no medical justification, as vaginal birth remains the option choice for mothers who meet the necessary medical criteria. So, is there a alternative for many women that could reduce the need for repeat cesarean section and the associated risk? Let's find out. All right, next. And yeah, next again. An alternative option is vaginal birth after cesarean or VBAC, which has been shown to be safe in the most cases and is the rise in high-income countries, with rates reaching 38 until 55% in certain European countries. VBAC presents a feasible alternative for many women, reducing the needs for repeat cesarean and their associated risks. It involves a vaginal delivery in women who has previously had a cesarean birth. Before achieving a VBAC, a trial of labor after cesarean or TOLEC is attempted. If successful, the outcome is a VBAC. If not, a repeat cesarean is performed, but processes require careful clinical supervision. All right, next. So, how can VBAC be successful? Not all the women suitable candidates for VBAC. Let's move on to the first point, that is medical and obstetric elements. Next. All right, next. The first is medical and obstetric elements. Numerous studies have identified several clinical and obstetric factors as crucial predictors of successful vaginal birth after cesareans. Key factors include the mother's age, BMI, inter-delivery interval, history of previous vaginal deliveries, and cervical dilatation at admission. Research indicates that mothers aged 21 until 25 years have a 77.5% success rate in VBAC, with the younger mothers under 30 and those with cervical dilatation over 4 cm being more likely to succeed. A history of successful VBAC is also a strong predictor of success. Studies suggest that factors like BMI below 25 kilograms square meters, a cervical score of 5 or higher, and neonatal birth weight under 3,300 grams are associated with higher VBAC success. However, other research disputes the significance of variables like BMI, parity, and birth interval on VBAC success. While conflicting results exist regarding the influence of maternal age, some studies suggest that women over 35 years old with labor augmentation have increased chances of success. Mothers who have a previous successful VBAC, those with no history of obstructed labor, and those receiving counseling about VBAC have a significantly higher success rate. Studies shows that 5, 58% of women who achieved successful VBAC had a prior successful VBAC. Moreover, factors such as fetal station of 0 or lower and a history of vaginal birth also contribute to VBAC success. And here, however, complications like prolonged labor over 8 hours, fetal distress, and occiput posterior fetal position can hinder VBAC success. Women who undergo women who undergo I'm sorry Moreover, factors such as fetal station or 0 or lower and a history of vaginal births also contribute to VBAC success. However, complications like prolonged labor over 8 hours, fetal distress, and occiput posterior fetal position can hinder VBAC success. Women who undergo spontaneous labor or have scheduled births are more likely to succeed, while those who require labor induction face significantly lower success rates. Overall, prior birth experience and hospital admission conditions are vital to predicting VBAC outcomes. And here, I have a all right. And next, so let's move to the second factors: psychological and motivational influences. Psychological preparedness and motivations are critical factors influencing VBAC success. As highlighted in several studies, research shows that women who feel empowered or have had a positive previous birthing experience are more likely to pursue VBAC as they exhibit higher level of psychological preparedness. However, concerns about potential complications, anxiety from prior cesarean experience, and lack of professional supports can discourage women from opting for feedback. The absence of adequate support can create uncertainty, reducing the likelihood of choosing feedback. The psychological factors not only influence the decision to attempt feedback, but also impact confidence during labor, providing tailored counseling to address individual concern and educating women about the benefits and risks of VBAC has proven effective to boosting confidence. This, in turn, help more women successfully pursue feedback. Active involvement of healthcare professionals in counseling can enhance psychological preparedness, leading to higher success rates by ensuring women are well informed and supported in their choices. All right, next. As you can see, the healthcare providers also play a crucial role to support the success of VBAC. Next. Right, next. Support and counseling from healthcare providers are crucial in determining the success of VBAC. Research indicates that healthcare providers can play a significant role in either supporting or hindering a mother's decision to undergo feedback. In Indonesia, 93% of mothers initially express a desire to give birth naturally, but this decision often shifts to cesarean sections as pregnancy near it ends or during the labor. Obstetricians play a key role as trusted figures in this decision-making process. Unfortunately, many healthcare providers tend to recommend cesarean with ERX methods, enhanced recovery after cesarean surgery, which is claimed to be superior to conventional CS. The extensive promotion of ERX, both by influencers and the hospital, has negatively impacted the paradigm and the philosophy of natural childbirth, leading to an increase in the number of children born via sexual cesarean, including repeat cesareans. And in reality, health providers should offer evidence-based educations about delivery option without being influenced by personal interests. Education on feedback provided by healthcare professionals is vital. As a matter knowledge, family support, and the information provided by healthcare providers play a significant role in determining the most appropriate delivery methods and improving feedback success rate. And during a conference, I came across a quote that really resonated with me about the normal birth. It goes like this: exit through the window, exit to the door, I'm sorry, exit through the door, not the window. It's like the philosophy of natural birth. Exit through the door represent natural birth, which is the original, the biological way of giving birth, It refers to the natural process that the body is designed for. On the other hand, exit through the window typically occurs in emergency situations, meaning a cesarean section is performed only when the mother faces serious complications that put her and the baby at risk. This philosophy emphasizes that normal birth should be primary option, with a C-section being a last resort in case of critical issues. Next, let's talk about the fourth factor, socio and economic cultural factors. Socio-economic status and cultural views are critical determinants influencing feedback decision and outcomes. Studies from Ethiopia and Nigeria found that women from lower socioeconomic origins in or rural areas were less inclined to choose feedback due to restricted access to healthcare resources and counseling. Moreover, cultural norms in specific places advocate for recurrent cesarean section to mitigate perceived hazard like vaginal birth following surgical procedures. The findings indicates that customized training intervention may be essential to rectify cultural biases and enhance feedback accessibility for women in low resource environment. And what else? Right, next. Numerous studies have developed predictive models to assess the likelihood of successful feedback. Predictive models, including factors like cervical dilatation and BMI, aid in feedback success assessment, offering accurate, evidence-based guidance for patient care. By incorporating these predictive tools, clinicians can enhance patient-centered cares and guide women more effectively in feedback decision making. Here, there's also institutional and systemic variables are also key factors that play an important role in the feedback process. Institutional rules and structural obstacles profoundly influence the success and accessibility of feedback. Studies by Sahin et al. 2022 and Zhang et al. 2020 revealed that hospital protocols, the availability of emergency assistance, and institutional rules substantially affect feedback result. In environment where feedback is actively promoted, success rates are generally elevated. Hospitals without enough emergency backup are more inclined to suggest repeat cesarean sections, emphasizes the significance of hospital infrastructure and the necessity of establishing feedback supportive policy to guarantee safe labor trials. Right, next. And yes, the key message of this presentation is empowering natural birth after cesarean requires a multifaceted approach with a particular focus on medical factors. Equally important are continuous care and fostering a positive mindset, which is essential to achieving a successful natural birth and is supported by midwives, obstetricians, and other health professionals. By supporting safe feedback practice, we're not just reducing risk. We are honoring a woman's right to choose how she gives birth. And thank you for your attention. Let's continue working together to make childbirth safer, more respectful, and more empowering for all the mothers. Now, I'll hand it back to Miss Garti. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Fatima. That was really insightful. I am a woman who has had multiple cesarean sections, and I'm sure if I had access to the right information and the right support, I probably would have chosen to have a VBAC at some point. Anyway, we have a few questions in the chat, and please keep your comments coming and your questions. You can type them in the chat. That will be really helpful. Shafia, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, is a master's student from Indonesia, and her question is, You discussed the role of healthcare providers in supporting VBAC. How can healthcare institutions ensure that providers, in this case maybe midwives, are equipped with the right knowledge and tools to counsel women effectively and support their decision making?
All right.
Sorry,
Okay. Can I answer the question from Safia? Right.
yeah, sure.
Okay. The question is about how to ensure the women. Okay. I'll answer it. Healthcare institution can ensure that providers are well equipped by incorporating feedback education ongoing training, and professional development programs. So there are programs for it. This includes providing healthcare professional with up-to-date research on feedback safety, benefits, and contraindications, as well as effective communication skills to address patient concern, where provider can share best practice and learn from real-world cases. Additionally, integrating evidence-based guidelines and ensuring that all staffs are familiar with feedback protocols and patient eligibility criteria is critical to delivering consistent and informed care. Maybe that's the answer from Safia.
All right, thank you, Fatima. I see that Zia has her hand up. Zia Bidan, you can ask your question. You can unmute and ask your question, Zia.
Okay, thank you, Isabella. Okay, hello everyone. Okay, I'm Zia and I'm a clinical midwife from Isyafa, Indonesia. Thank you, Ms. Fatima, for shedding light on the empowering potential of feedback. This is a conversation we urgently need in Indonesia. We encounter many women with a previous cesarean who hold a deep desire to experience a vaginal birth for their subsequent delivery. They often perceive feedback not just a delivery mode, but as a chance for a different, perhaps more fulfilling or natural birth experiences. However, alongside this strong desire, we often observe significant oppression that perception are frequently shaped by a mix of factors: fear based on the previous experience or societal stories, conflicting information from various sources, anxieties about safety, and sometimes even a lack of confidence instilled by healthcare providers or family who may default to recommending repeat cesarean. Critically, while the desire for feedback is present among their mothers, the structure empowerment strategies needed to truly support them often seem underdeveloped or inconsistently applied within the Indonesian healthcare system. This include comprehensive, genuinely supportive, and skilled provider and care pathway that actively promote confidence rather than fear. So my question, considering the specific perception and anxieties commonly held by women with a prior cesarean section who attempt feedback, what practice and culturally sensitive strategies can midwife employ to genuinely empower this woman within a system where comprehensive, dedicated feedback support pathway may not yet be fully established or universally accessible? How can we move beyond as a midwife, simply acknowledging their desire toward actively building their confidence, ensuring they receive accurate and balanced information, and fostering a sense of agency throughout the decision-making and labor process, even within existing limitations? Thank you, Fatima.
Thank you, Zia. Over to you, Fatima.
Alright, thank you for the question about our roles as a midwife to encourage mothers that really want to have birth with feedback. Okay, I'll try to answer. To address specific perceptions and anxiety that mothers may have when aiming for a feedback, the midwife can implement various practices and strategies to improve confidence and increase chances of a successful feedback. Like there are some approaches that we can do, such as open communication and education, like prior clear information. We can help the mother to understand the process of feedback and addressing common fears of misconception. Explain the risks and the benefits and how feedback is often a safe option for many women with prior C-section, especially if the previous birth is just an elective sexual cesarean. It means there's no significant risk that the women can give birth normal. And as a midwife, we can empower with knowledge, share success stories to inspire her,
Mm.
share success stories of other women, of other mothers who have successfully had feedback. This can reduce fear and build a sense of possibility and empowerment. And also, Biden, I'm sorry, midwife can be an individualized care and support, like listen to concerns. Midwife can take time to listen to the mother's concern about feedback and her previous C-section's experience. Validating her feeling and fears can make her feel supported and less anxious.
Mm.
And also, we can make a birth plan, work with the mother to develop birth plans that aligns with feedback goals, ensuring she feels heard and involved in the decision making process to give her a sense of control over her birth experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Fatima. And just to add to all that you said, I also think that many women in developing countries may opt for cesarean sections due to pain concerns in labor. We don't have lots of pain management options for labor, birth pain. And so it's about midwives also exploring and advocating for pain relief for women, because that is a major deterrent for some women opting for normal vaginal births. And it's also, I think, about midwives also trying to make VBAC safer, proper monitoring of the woman in labor, making sure that you listen to her concerns and we walk the journey with the woman all the way. I also have one question to ask you, Fatima. So you mentioned how cultural and socioeconomic factors play a significant role in VBAC success. What actionable steps can we take to sort of like bridge the gap in VBAC access for women who are from low resource settings or communities with specific cultural norms that favor repeat cesareans? For example, in some societies, it's about, let's say, a particular sex of baby, it's about a boy. So when the woman is pregnant and they find out that the sex of the baby is a boy, even the family may be advocating for cesarean. They don't want anything to go wrong, they just want the baby boy. So what are some of the actionable steps that we can take to bridge the gap in VBAC access for women from low resource settings or communities?
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Garti, for the question. It's about the cultural and socioeconomic factors that play a significant roles in feedback success. To bridge the gap in feedback access for women in low resource settings, it is essential to enhance healthcare access and infrastructure, particularly in rural and underserved areas. But we depends on the government too. Like midwives has a connections with the governments, of course, and this includes training healthcare providers. So the midwives or obstetricians or any or and all healthcares understand and address the cultural norms that favor repeat cesareans, offering culturally sensitive counseling, and providing financial support or incentive to ensure that women from all socioeconomic background can access these feedback services. Public health campaign aimed at educating women with about the benefit and again safety of VBAC can also play a crucial roles in challenging cultural biases. Partnership with community leaders and local healthcare organization can help create the awareness. Can create the awareness so we can promote VBAC as safe as and feasible option. Even in areas where cesarean delivery are more common. So again, we have to promote it, and we have a collaboration with the government and the local healthcare.
Thank you so much, Fatima. And just to round up what you have presented to us in the last few minutes, it's also just about that metaphor of using the door and not the window. And so if we continue to advocate for more natural births, and we continue to let women know the benefits and let their families know the benefits and how the recovery is quick and instant and all the numerous benefits associated with using the door and having that natural, normal birth, I think that many women will be more keen to have VBAC. So thank you so much, Fatima. We've learned a lot from you.